All right, hello VIP Kid Teachers Wanted. This is Teacher Penny, and I am here to give you a walkthrough and some help on UAs, Unit Assessments. A lot of people have been asking questions about these, as a lot of you are brand new teachers, and all of a sudden you get this notice that says, you've been booked for a unit assessment, and you're like, what is this? So I wanted to give you some help on how to do that. So let's walk through some of these ideas, and I'm going to give you some tips for them. So when you get to the teacher portal, you're going to look on the classrooms. Why did that do that? Here we go. Look on the classrooms tab here, and on this one I've got a couple of them that I can show you, but this one is the one I taught this morning. This down here at the bottom, in the lesson cycle, it shows, or in the lesson title, it shows that it is an assessment. Okay, so if you'll look there, you can also see over here where the feedback is, it will say UA report. So that's the one that tells you this is an assessment, this is a UA. So make sure you look for that to find your unit assessment in this one. So in this case, this is, MC is major course. It is a level 3, unit 8, lesson cycle 2, and lesson number 12. Okay, this is the assessment that I did this morning, and my little guy's name was Tommy. He did a great job on his assessment, but I'm going to show you some of the things with it. So here's a few things about a unit assessment. The very first thing you're going to notice when you start looking at the slides is how many slides are in this thing. It's like ridiculous. I'm telling you, like 50, 55, 60. So usually it's like 48, 50, something like that. But don't panic, because they move very, very quickly. This is a review of everything that they have learned in this whole unit. And so it's all stuff that they've seen before. It's words that they've seen, sentences that they've seen, letters that they've seen. It's all stuff that they've seen before. They're just doing it again to make sure that they understand what they're doing here. So it moves very, very quickly. And there's a lot of slides that are kind of like a filler slide. There's a game that they build into it, and I'll show you that game here in just a moment. So there's a lot of those filler slides that we literally only spend a couple of seconds on each one of them before we move on to the next thing in there. Okay, so it's all review. There's no new material taught, but we still do use props, and we use TPR. So have your flashcards ready, have a puppet or something, whatever you need. Look through it and see what you need, and have those props ready. There is going to be some correction, but not as much as you would in a normal lesson. We're here more to evaluate what they know rather than to teach something new. We're not teaching anything new. Okay, but we're here to evaluate what they have learned. And depending on the time, on how your time is doing, I score them on what they actually answer, and then I'll go back in and correct them on whatever it is. If it's a sentence that they're supposed to say or something like that, I'll do that on that one. Okay, but I'm not really going to do a ton of correction. Now I'll correct a word, the way they're pronouncing a word or something like that, but I'm not going to correct the whole concept that they're teaching or that they're learning right then. Okay, do have something ready at the end in case you get through early. I had an assessment a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was now, that at 16 minutes we were done. 16. Okay, out of a 25-minute lesson. So I'm pulling out books, I'm pulling out flashcards, all of this stuff. You can have some great conversations with them. You can spell the sight words. You've got a blank screen at the end that you can do a lot of things with. So you can spell sight words. You can practice, what color is my shirt? What color is this? Just depends on the level of the student. But have something ready just in case they fly through it all. And if it looks like they're starting to fly through it all, you can stretch it, okay? And you can extend each one of those slides and add a little bit more so that you can fill up that whole time. But don't leave early, okay? Do not leave early. If you finish early, don't leave the classroom early. You have to go all the way to 25 minutes. So teach something else, but be ready with something else in that time. Okay, there are two different assessments on major course. We're going to talk about level 1 because it's a different kind of assessment. We'll talk about that at the end. But in your major courses, level 2 through level 6, they all have the same format. You have lessons one in each unit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they do an assessment at lesson 6. And at the end of that assessment, you are going to introduce the final project. They also introduce it in lesson 5, but you're going to introduce it again in lesson 6. Usually you have more time at the end of that assessment to talk about it, make sure that they've made a choice on what they're going to do and everything, okay? Then there is the lesson 12 assessment, and this is the big one for the whole unit, and it also includes the final project, and we'll talk about the final project here in just a little bit, okay? So don't freak out over so many slides because they do go really fast. Okay, all right, so you come into the lesson, and this is the first thing you see, and it'll say assessment on it. Assessment 2 is that lesson 12 assessment. So we are at level 3. This is unit 8, and this is the second assessment, the one at lesson 12. Okay, you can see down here that tells you exactly what level, what lesson we're on. Now, the very first thing is you're going to do your regular greeting with them. And yes, it may be a student that you've never seen before, but that's just, that's the way it is. Okay, hopefully it's one that you've worked with before, but maybe not. Okay, so at the very first one, it brings up and it tells some kind of story, okay, and it kind of introduces the game. Yes, your lower level 2 ones will not understand what you are saying here, but you read it anyway, okay, and they'll kind of get it. Like the very first one is I think the very first unit assessment in level 2 says she forgot the name of her school, and can you help her find out the name of her school? Well, of course, a level 2 student is not going to understand all that, but they might understand part of it. Can you help? Yeah, I can help. Yes. Okay. So, but this student is going to understand this. This is a level 3 student, so they're going to understand a lot more of that. So you just read and introduce the game. Okay. In this game, they are building this model city. And so that's the premise of the game. Okay. Each one of them, even up through level 6, says, choose your character. Then you just say, do you want to be Meg or Mike? And my student this morning says, no. And so I said, or do you want to be Tommy? And he says, Tommy. So that's fine. You can say that. This is kind of, and for older kids, I usually just skip this slide anyway. Okay. But do you want to be Meg or Mike or Tommy? In there, that's fine. Okay, then they bring up this game map, and all of them are a different version of this kind of map. They have the level 1, the level 2, but it may have this picture on it, something like that, but it's going to have this game map. Now, I do not use a secondary reward with a unit assessment because this is the secondary reward. Yes, we do stars, and I'll tell you about stars in a moment, but we do mostly, we're focused in on this game map and getting to the different levels, okay? So as I get to the level, and I'll say, I'll come to this and I'll go, all right, let's go. Level 1, and I'll circle level 1. And then it goes to this one, and this is the level 2 one. I didn't get a picture of the level 1, okay? But it'll go to this one, and I'll say, level 1, begin. Get all excited about it, okay? And then you'll go into the unit assessment, and you'll go into the questions that they have there, okay? But I'm going to go on. Isn't this a lovely picture that I captured of myself? Scratching my nose. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, okay. This is a level 12 lesson, and so I wanted to talk about the final project because this is a big deal, and it's worth a lot of points. So I want to make sure you understand about those final projects. Okay, it's in lesson 12 in that assessment, the very first level in that game map is going to be the presentation. So you come up with this page, and it'll say presentation time. And I've got more of the full screen that I'm showing you here because I want to show you this up here where it says see project. okay? They now have the ability to upload a picture of their project onto the classroom portal. So you can click on See Project and it will bring up their picture. I had a student yesterday she had her project done and they had uploaded it, and I was able to see it right there in the classroom without her holding a piece of paper. See, I did my project. And you're like, okay, you can actually see the project on that. So make sure you check on that See Project button to see if they have uploaded a project, okay? All right, so this is going to be the presentation time. And you can also, this is the next slide, and it has the 3 options that they have had to choose from for their final project. And so you say, do you have your final project? Can I see your picture? And then you're going to get the ones that look at you like, project? Huh? Is there a project? Was I supposed to do a project? Even though they've heard about this, lesson 5, lesson 6, lesson 11. It's also in their workbooks that they have at home. There's no excuse for them not to know about the project, but a lot of them don't, okay? And even the parents will tell you, well, I didn't know they were supposed to do a project. It is what it is, okay? So here's the options on the project that you have, okay? If you have time at the end, you've asked, and I asked my little guy Tommy this morning, do you have a project? Do you have a picture? He even told me that he chose number 1, okay? Draw some animals that live on the farm and label them. He told me he was going to do this one. I said, where's your picture? Blank stare. So I said, okay, fine. And we went on with the rest of the assessment. Okay. And when we finished the assessment, there's a blank slide at the end of the whole presentation. And that's where I said, okay, now let's draw your picture. I said, draw a farm with animals. And so he drew the farmhouse, and he drew the cow, and he drew the sheep. And then this is a chicken. Oh no, he said it was a rooster. Okay. So, and he put the labels on it. Okay. And so we're fine. We made it through on this one, and he did his project. Okay. So on your final projects, they're only on lesson 12 assessments. Okay. They're not in lesson 6, the lesson 6 assessments. They are talked about in lesson 5 and lesson 6 and lesson 11. It's always good if you're teaching one of those lessons that you're going to, that the student chooses their project, to put it in the teacher feedback, the teacher to teacher feedback of, Tommy chose option 1 for his final project. I also put it in the parent feedback, and I put in there, Tommy chose option 1 for his final project. It is due on his next class in lesson 12. Please make sure he has his project ready. It's worth a lot of points on his final assessment. So the parent has that in the feedback, so that there's very, very little excuse for them not to have that project there, okay? But still, you're going to have some that have no project. If they have time, do it at the end, and you're going to give them partial credit for it. And I'll talk about that in the scoring here in just a minute. If they did it, but they forgot to bring it, sometimes they left it at school, sometimes they're traveling and they left it at home, or who knows what, okay? Have them talk about it. Okay, and if they can talk about it, I'll give them partial credit for that as well. So remember to click that See Project button to see if they've uploaded it. If they show any effort at all on doing a final project, I give them full credit. Okay, even if it looks sloppy or whatever, I give them full credit if they show any effort at all on doing that final project. Okay, all right, now to go to scoring. After they finish the project thing, when you go to the, let me go back up a little bit to that level, the game map. When you finish each level, that's when I give a star. Okay, so we get to the end of this one. He didn't have his project, so he didn't get a star there. But when we finished all the questions in level 2, and we get to the end of it, and it comes up and it says, and it has this picture, okay? Level 2, yay, you got a restaurant. Great job. You get a star. And I gave him the star. Okay, so this is how I give my stars. For every level, they get another star. And so by the end of the thing, they have all 5 stars. Okay, all right, now scoring. when you do the scoring, you are going to you're going to have a choice of 3 scores to give on every question. Okay, there's a couple of them that are on the project, and then there's 1 question on each slide. Usually, maybe they may not be a question on each one. Okay, but you're going to give a score, and it's going to be what basically it's 1, 2, or 3. Okay, this is 1. If they can't do it at all, okay, then you click on this circle, and that gives them a score of 1. If they do it sort of, but they needed a little help with it, then they get a 2. You choose this circle. If they can do it independently, then you get that one on 3. Make sure you know what the objective is on these, because sometimes what we think is mastery, maybe they don't really need to know all of that. So, you know, in a younger, you know, a lower level one, I may say, well, they didn't know what they, you know, they didn't know this and this and this, but they don't have to know that. Maybe all they really need to know is, what letter does cat start with? And if they can go C or cat, that may be all that the objective is. So make sure that you are not expecting more of them than they actually need to give. Okay, so just make sure you know what that objective is, because I want to give a student full credit for doing what is expected on that slide. They may not be able to do this and this and this, but they can do what the objective of that slide is. Do you get the point there? Okay, so you're going to give a score of each one, 1, 2, or 3, for every slide on there. Okay, now I'm going to move my video here, and because I want to show you this. Okay, at the end of all of the scoring, you're going to see the final score, and that has my tally. So in this one, he got 2 points out of 4 points for the project presentation. He got a 7 out of 8 on reading and writing, and so forth and so on. Okay, so he did pretty well on this, considering he didn't have his project done. And then I have the comments here, and oops, let me go back. The comments here, these are going to go to his parents, and I want to give good comments and help them really understand how their child is doing. But here's the good things. A lot of people are like, how do I keep this score and all that? You've got a couple of choices. You can either just take a piece of paper and write down on there. Maybe as you're going through, most of the kids do really well on these assessments. So if they do great, I don't write anything down. I just know that one's going to be the 3 score. Okay, but if they have a problem, I might write down 1 word to remind me which one it is that they missed. Okay, and then I will write on there, and then I'll put a 2, or I'll put a 1 if they can't do it at all. Okay, all right, so I'll just write on a piece of paper to do that. Or you can do this over here. Okay, you bring up the add feedback. This is at the beginning of your class. Bring up add feedback, and then click this arrow. Okay, you see this arrow here? If you click that down arrow, the blue arrow is not in there. That's what I put in to show you where this is. You're going to click this little arrow, and that is going to move the feedback form here. It's going to move it down to the bottom underneath where you are teaching. So you can see where it is here. Now I've got a big screen. I've got like a 23-inch monitor. So I've got plenty of room to be able to see that, scroll through it as I need to bring up each individual question. So I can actually score it as I go through. You might be able to do that on your monitor. You might need to go into the view on your web browser and take it down to a lower, like 75% or something like that, which will make everything a little bit smaller, but that way you can see that feedback form at the bottom. Okay, up to you on that, but that makes it really easy to score if you are able to bring up that feedback form, put it at the bottom, and score it as you go through. Okay, all right, so here's the stars just like normal, everything in there. Okay, so a few reminders on the feedback. You want to be honest, but be kind. Okay, I call it a sugar sandwich. So I'm going to take something that he did good, and then I'm going to say something that he didn't do so good on, but I'm going to even say that nice. Okay, so I would say he did well on this, but he can work on Okay, that's a good word for he didn't do so good on this part. He can work on, he can practice, or maybe even he struggled with. Okay, but just, don't say he did really bad on. Obviously, you're not going to do that because you're nice. Okay, you're a nice person. Okay, so sugar sandwich. He did well on this. He can practice this. He did great on this. Sugar sandwich. Okay, don't be afraid of a bad review. Yes, some parents get mad at that you scored their perfect little darling down on his UA, but you know what? They need some honesty to really know how he's doing on that one. So be honest of how they're doing. Now, I'll be honest, I very seldom give a 1 score, okay? It's always a 2 or 3. But anyway, but sometimes they do struggle and they need to know, because maybe it might be that they're really struggling with this level and they need to go back a level, and that might be something that if they did really, really poorly, you might need to mention that to the parents. This level seems very difficult for little Johnny. Maybe he needs to go back a level and repeat this unit in order to be successful in his future English studies. Okay? So make sure you know the objective of the slide so that you're not grading them too hard on what it's supposed to be. Tell the parents in your feedback that this is not a normal class, that no new material is taught. We don't do as much correction as a regular class, and since we're evaluating what they've learned, make sure that they know there's a difference. Some parents have complained that they're not teaching anything and they're not correcting as much on, well, we're not supposed to, because this is a different kind of class. So just make sure you put that in the feedback as well. You cannot submit the feedback until the 30-minute mark, okay? So if you have another class right after this one, you're going to want to save your progress, okay? There is a button. Let me show you here. See down here? Right, see that button? So if I've gone through and I've scored all of these questions, if I hit save, then it's going to keep it there. If I just exit the feedback and exit the classroom, it's not going to save any of that, and I'm going to have to go back in and refill it out. I did that this morning. Yeah, don't do that, okay? So make sure you click save before you submit it, okay, or before you leave the classroom. Then come back in afterwards, after you've taught your next class or whatever, and finish it out, add the comments to it, whatever, okay? And then click submit, okay? If it is a no-show, student no-show, or if it's an IT, you do not have to submit feedback, okay? So do not worry about doing the feedback for that one. If you have a level 1 assessment, they're called checkpoints. They do not have projects in level 1, and it is at lesson 8. There's only 8 lessons in each unit in level 1, and so that checkpoint is there. Not every slide is scored. It might have 3 or 4 slides that are teaching the same concept, and if they get it by the end of it, then you give them that score there, okay? And they are interactive now. For a little bit they weren't interactive, but they are interactive, so they can move things around and all that. So the level 1s are fun to do that, okay? All right, I hope this helps you out with unit assessments, and that you are very successful with that. Be sure and join our Facebook group, especially if you are still in the application process. VIPKID Teachers Wanted on Facebook. I am Teacher Penny. Penny Davis is my name, and I'm known as Teacher Penny JT on VIPKID. There's my email address, teacherpennyvipkid@gmail.com. If you have not applied to VIPKID yet, I'm not quite sure why you're watching this video, but that's okay. But if you've not applied for VIPKID, please apply at VIPKID.com and use the code 049A85. That is a 0 at the beginning, not an O. But if you've already applied for VIPKID and have not been hired yet, if you haven't signed your final contract, and you did not use a referral code, I sure would appreciate you sending in an email to add my referral code on there. And you can see the link to send it to and exactly what to say to add it on there. Thanks so much for joining me. Please give me a like here on YouTube, and comment. Let me know what you think of this. Was this a help to you or not? Okay. Thanks so much and have a great night. Bye-bye.